The world of Rilna was quiet once. Its people were simple farmers and builders. Their cities were small but bright, full of stone towers and green gardens. The rivers were wide, and children played along the shores without fear. For generations, the Rilna lived in peace, never knowing war beyond stories of ancient times. They traded with passing ships and believed the galaxy was kind. That belief shattered when the Dravik came. The Dravik were known as raiders across the stars. Their ships were sharp and black, shaped like blades. They struck fast, crushing weak worlds before anyone could resist. When their fleet appeared above Rilna, the sky turned red with fire. Towers crumbled as their weapons burned through walls. The Rilna were not soldiers. They had no armies. All they could do was hide in caves and cellars while their world was torn apart. In the council hall of Rilna's capital, the leaders gathered. The air smelled of smoke even inside the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling as distant blasts shook the city. The eldest among them, a silver-skinned woman named Terran, raised her voice. "We must send a call," she said. "Someone must hear us." Another counselor shook his head. His eyes were dark with despair. "Who will come? No one dares to fight the Dravik. Even great powers keep silent when they strike. If we call, we waste our last hope." Terran placed her hand on the old transmitter that had rested unused for years. Its panels glowed faintly, a relic from a forgotten age. "If there is even one who listens, then we must try. Better to send our voices into the stars than to die in silence." Reluctantly, the council agreed. The signal was sent, a cry carried by waves of light across endless space. It spoke of burning homes, broken families, and a plea for mercy. The words ended with a simple call, "Help us. Please." Days passed, and no answer came. The Dravik tightened their hold. Villages were emptied. Markets were left in ruins. The Rilna people felt despair grow heavier. They wondered if the council had been wrong. Perhaps no one would answer. Perhaps the galaxy had already decided to leave them to their fate. Then, one night, a sound filled the skies. It was not the harsh shriek of Dravik engines, but a deep, steady hum that shook the earth gently. Children pointed to the heavens as new stars appeared, moving in formation. The Rilna looked up with fear, thinking more raiders had come. But these ships were different. They were human ships. The fleet was heavy and strong, built not for speed but for endurance. Their armor shone with the dull gray of iron. Some carried scars of old battles across their hulls. To the Rilna, they looked like mountains drifting through the void. No banners flew from them, no bright colors, only the silent strength of steel. At first, the Rilna were afraid. They had heard stories of humans. Other species called them Deathworlders, a name whispered with both fear and respect. It was said they came from a harsh planet filled with storms, beasts, and endless struggle. To survive such a place was to be dangerous beyond measure. Many thought humans were reckless, too bold, too wild. Were these newcomers saviors or another kind of threat? The council gathered again as the human fleet entered orbit. Messages began to stream across the airwaves. A calm voice spoke in the common tongue of the galaxy. "This is Commander Hale of the United Human Fleet. We received your distress call. We are here to help." The words were simple, yet they carried weight. The Rilna listened with disbelief. Someone had answered. Someone had come when the galaxy had turned its back. Terran, her old hands trembling, whispered, "The humans came. They truly came." Not everyone trusted so quickly. Some feared what price the humans would demand. Others doubted they could truly stand against the Dravik. But when the human fleet moved between Rilna and the enemy ships, forming a wall of steel, the people felt something they had not felt since the first attack began. Hope. From the caves, from the ruins, from the shadows, the Rilna watched the sky with new eyes. The Deathworlders had come not to conquer, but to protect. The distress signal had not vanished into silence. It had reached hearts strong enough to answer. And for the first time, the Dravik were not alone in the skies above Rilna. The skies of Rilna still burned with smoke from Dravik fire, yet now another fleet hovered above. The human ships stood like silent guardians. They did not rush to strike. They did not scatter or flee. Instead, they moved with careful discipline, taking positions between the planet and the Dravik fleet. The Rilna people gathered in the ruins of their city, staring upward. They had never seen ships like these. The vessels were not beautiful, not polished with shining colors like the cruisers of other empires. Instead, they looked heavy, scarred, and strong. Each one was built for battle. To the Rilna, they seemed almost alive, like great beasts waiting to defend their young. Inside the council hall, the leaders of Rilna listened as the human commander spoke again over the communicator. His voice was calm, steady, and firm. "This is Commander Hale of the United Human Fleet. We are here because you called. You are not alone. We will stand with you." The words spread across the city. Children whispered them to one another. Parents repeated them to calm their frightened families. The council members exchanged looks, not knowing what to believe. Councillor Darren, a cautious man, stepped forward. "They speak boldly, but what can they truly do? The Dravik are many. They will crush anyone who stands in their way." But Terran, the eldest, shook her head. "Look at their ships. Look at how they move. These are not wanderers or raiders. These are soldiers who know battle." Perhaps for the first time, the Dravik will face more than frightened prey. Above, the Dravik fleet began to shift. Their sharp black ships broke formation, spreading wide like hunters circling prey. They had noticed the human arrival, and they were not pleased. A cold voice crackled through the channels, broadcast across both fleets and even down to the surface. "This is High Captain Vor of the Dravik Legion. Leave this system at once, humans. This world is ours. If you stay, you will share their fate." The people of Rilna trembled at the sound, for they had heard such words before. To them, the Dravik voice meant only destruction. But Commander Hale answered with calm resolve. "This world called for help. You brought war to them. Now you face us. If you wish to test our resolve, then come." The channel went silent. No insults. No threats. Only silence, which was more unsettling than words. Inside the human flagship, soldiers prepared. They strapped into their stations, checked their weapons, and reviewed battle plans. The humans had not come to scare the Dravik away with words. They had come ready to fight. On the surface, the Rilna watched in awe. They saw the human fleet spread into a wall of steel, ship beside ship, protecting their world like a shield. To the Rilna, it was something new. No empire had ever done this for them. No one had ever risked their fleets to stand in the path of the Dravik. Even as hope grew, fear lingered. The Rilna whispered among themselves. "What if the humans fall?" one farmer asked. "What if the Dravik destroy them too?" Terran overheard and answered gently. "Then they will fall with us. That alone makes them different from all others. But I do not think they came here to fall." In the night sky, beams of light streaked across the void as both sides prepared their weapons. The Dravik tested the humans, firing small blasts near their formation. The human ships did not move. They stood firm, their shields glowing as they absorbed the impact. Then, for the first time, the Rilna saw something they would never forget. A human ship, one of the smaller ones, responded. A single cannon roared, its blast cutting across the dark, striking one of the Dravik vessels. The enemy ship twisted and broke apart, vanishing into fire. The Rilna gasped. The Dravik had always seemed untouchable, their armor unbreakable, their ships unstoppable. But now, before their eyes, a human strike had destroyed one. The council gathered again as the first clash echoed through the stars. Darren's face was pale. The Dravik will not forgive this. They will bring all their fury. Terran's voice was firm. Then let them. At last, the Dravik face those who do not run. Down in the shelters, families held each other close. They listened to the distant thunder of war in the skies above. For the first time since the invasion began, their prayers were not of surrender, but of survival. Above it all, Commander Hale stood at the center of his ship, calm yet unyielding. He knew the battle ahead would be long and hard. The Dravik were strong, but humans had faced worse. He gave the order in a steady voice. Hold formation. Protect the planet. The Dravik will learn today what it means to face the Deathworlders. The fleet answered with silent obedience. The humans were ready. The Rilna were no longer alone. The battle for Rilna was about to begin. The silence above Rilna lasted only moments before the void erupted into war. The Dravik moved first, their ships darting like sharp blades across the stars. They were fast, designed for ambush and terror. To them, the human fleet was only another obstacle to cut down. The Dravik had faced many foes before, and most crumbled at the first strike. They expected the same from the humans. Commander Hale stood at the command deck of his flagship, watching the shifting red lights on the display. Each mark was a Dravik ship moving into attack position. His voice was calm when he spoke. All ships, maintain the wall. No one breaks formation. The human fleet held steady, forming a shield between Rilna and the enemy. The Dravik opened fire, beams of white light streaking across the void. Explosions lit the human shields, flashing like storms across their hulls. The Rilna on the surface watched in fear, convinced no fleet could survive such fire. But the humans did not scatter. They did not run. Each ship held its place, their shields glowing under the assault. Smoke rose from some hulls, but still they endured. When the Dravik fire faded for a breath, Commander Hale raised his hand. Return fire. The void roared. Human cannons spoke with thunder, each blast guided by precision. The ships did not spray wildfire as the Dravik often did. They chose their targets, striking one vessel at a time. The first Dravik ship cracked apart, its engines torn in half. The second spun helplessly as fire consumed its core. The Rilna gasped from the ground as they saw Dravik wreckage burning in the night sky. For the first time in living memory, the hunters were being hunted. Yet the Dravik did not retreat. Their captain snarled orders, and the black ships swarmed in closer, circling the human line. They darted between fire, striking from all sides. Two human ships shook violently as enemy blasts tore across their shields. One began to lose power, drifting slightly out of formation. Hold steady, Hale commanded. His eyes were fixed on the drifting vessel. He knew if the line broke, the Dravik would pour through and strike Rilna directly. His fleet could not allow that. Bring ship Delta back into position. Cover them. At once, the nearest human vessels moved. They shifted slightly, covering the weakened ship with their own shields. Fire tore at their armor, but still they held, pulling their wounded comrade back into safety. The Rilna watching from below saw this and whispered to one another. They protect each other, one farmer said. They fight as one. The Dravik did not understand such unity. Their ships fought for glory, each captain seeking personal victory. Humans, however, fought for survival as a whole. No one was abandoned. This difference began to show. One human squadron broke formation just enough to lure the Dravik closer. The enemy, hungry for an easy kill, chased them. But it was a trap. The moment the Dravik entered the gap, hidden cannons from the rear of the human line unleashed fire. Two enemy ships exploded instantly, another spinning away broken. The void shook with fire and light. Both sides lost ships, pieces of wreckage scattering across the orbit of Rilna. But the Dravik began to realize this battle was unlike any they had fought. Humans did not retreat when pressed. They did not scatter under fear. They fought with a fury that grew sharper with every strike. On the ground, the Rilna gathered in plazas and on rooftops, staring up at the sky. They could see flashes of light like storms dancing above their world. For once, those lights were not only destruction, but also defense. Hope spread like a fire through their hearts. In the council chamber, Darren pressed his hands together nervously. They fight with such strength, but the Dravik are many. How long can the humans last? Terran's old eyes were steady. As long as they must. Do you not see? They are not fighting for conquest. They are fighting to keep us alive. That alone makes them stronger than the Dravik. Back in the skies, the battle reached its peak. The Dravik captain ordered a full charge, his ships swarming like blades around the human wall. For a moment, the void became a storm of fire. Shields cracked, armor burned, but the humans held their line. Then Commander Hale gave the order. Forward push. Break them. The human fleet surged together, moving not as scattered ships but as one great spear. They drove into the Dravik formation, firing in unison. The first wave of enemy ships shattered under the strike. Others turned to flee, their sharp formation broken. The Rilna watched with wide eyes as the black shapes of Dravik vessels burned, their remains falling like dying stars. For the first time, the invaders pulled back, forced away from their prey. Silence slowly returned to the skies, broken only by the crackle of wreckage burning in orbit. The Rilna could not believe what they had witnessed. The Dravik had been stopped. Not defeated yet, but stopped. Commander Hale stood tall on his bridge, his face calm though his fleet bore scars. He knew this was only the beginning. The Dravik would return with more strength, but now the galaxy would know something new. The humans had come, and they would not yield. The first great clash in orbit left the skies above Rilna filled with burning wreckage. Pieces of broken Dravik ships drifted like dark clouds, glowing as fire ate away at them. The human fleet still stood, scarred but unbroken. The Rilna people looked up with hope, yet their world was still in danger. Many Dravik forces had already landed on the ground, and their soldiers marched through towns and fields, burning everything they touched. Commander Hale knew that space was not the only battlefield. He stood at the command deck and spoke with steady authority. Prepare the ground teams. Rilna must be defended from below as well as above. The order spread quickly. In the hangars of human ships, soldiers readied themselves. They wore dark armor, not heavy and towering like the Dravik, but designed for speed and movement. They checked their rifles, tightened their straps, and stood shoulder to shoulder. The dropships hummed as engines came alive. On the surface, the Rilna gathered in hiding. They could hear the heavy steps of Dravik patrols and the cruel roar of their war machines. Fires lit the night, and families clung to each other in fear. Yet soon, a new sound joined the chaos, the rumble of human dropships breaking through the sky. The Rilna looked upward, shielding their eyes as streaks of light cut through the darkness. The ships descended fast, their sides opening as soldiers leapt into the smoke-filled air. The humans did not come quietly. They landed in formation, their boots striking the ground as one. Weapons lifted, eyes sharp, hearts steady. The Dravik soldiers turned in surprise. They were tall, armored with jagged plates, and carried brutal blades along with energy weapons. They expected easy victory, as always. They had fought many worlds and faced little resistance. But the humans did not cower. The first clash came in a ruined street. A group of Dravik warriors roared as they charged, blades raised. The humans did not retreat. They moved with discipline, taking cover behind broken walls and rubble. Rifles fired in bursts, every shot measured and precise. Dravik fell one by one, their armor pierced by human fire. The Rilna, watching from hidden corners, could hardly believe their eyes. Where their people had scattered in terror, the humans held steady. They fought not as individuals but as a team. One soldier covered while another advanced. When a man fell, two more dragged him to safety while others held the line. In another part of the city, human squads pushed into a burning marketplace. The Dravik had gathered prisoners, tying them under the shadow of a broken tower. The Rilna captives trembled, expecting death. Instead, they heard sharp commands in human voices. Soldiers stormed in, rifles blazing. The Dravik tried to hold, but they were unprepared for the speed and unity of the humans. Within minutes, the prisoners were free, guided to safety behind the advancing line. Word spread quickly among the Rilna. The humans were not only fighting, they were saving lives. Families whispered in awe as soldiers shielded children with their own bodies, guiding them to safety even while fire rained around them. To the Rilna, it was a sight beyond belief. No one had ever fought for them like this. The Dravik grew angry at the resistance. Their commanders ordered heavier forces into the battle. Machines of war rolled through the streets, firing bolts of fire that shattered stone walls. Entire blocks shook as their power tore through the city. The Rilna thought no one could stand against such destruction. But the humans did not break. Instead, they adapted. Engineers rushed forward with heavy weapons, setting up launchers in hidden alleys. When the Dravik war machines turned the corner, the launchers fired, blasting them apart in thunderous strikes. Smoke filled the air, and cheers rose from hiding Rilna as the monsters of steel fell. The fighting spread into the countryside. Human squads moved through fields and forests, driving back Dravik patrols. They worked in silence, their signals simple and clear. When one squad came under heavy fire, others rushed to their side. Slowly, piece by piece, the ground was taken back from the invaders. The Rilna began to step from hiding, no longer only victims. Some carried food to the soldiers. Others brought tools, guiding them through hidden paths and caves. Farmers who had lost everything stood beside the humans, helping them move supplies. It was a quiet alliance, built not on promises, but on action. In the council hall, Darren shook his head in wonder. I have never seen anything like this. They fight as though the world is theirs. Taryn smiled faintly. Perhaps, in this moment, they believe it is. Perhaps they see us as worth saving. Night fell again over Rilna, yet the fires that lit the sky were no longer only from destruction. Human beacons burned bright on rooftops, marking safe zones where the people could gather without fear. The Rilna, exhausted but alive, looked to those lights as signs of hope. Commander Hale received reports from the ground teams. Losses were real, but progress was steady. His soldiers fought with courage, and the Dravik were learning something they had never faced before. Humans did not yield. Humans did not run. The first day of battle for the ground of Rilna ended with a truth that spread across the world. The humans had landed. They had fought. And for the first time since the invasion began, the Rilna believed survival was possible. The battle for Rilna stretched into long days and heavy nights. Smoke filled the air, cities lay broken, and the ground shook with every clash. Yet the humans held firm. Their fleet guarded the skies, and their soldiers pushed street by street, field by field, driving the Dravik back. Still, everyone knew this was not the end. The Dravik had not yet revealed their true power. High above, in the cold dark of space, the enemy gathered. Dozens more ships arrived, dark blades gliding silently into the system. They formed rows behind their flagship, like a storm waiting to break. The Dravik had underestimated the humans once. They would not do so again. On the human flagship, Commander Hale studied the reports. His officers stood at their stations, waiting for his word. The screen glowed red with enemy markers. There were far more Dravik now than before, a tide of warships large enough to crush entire systems. For a moment, silence filled the bridge. Then Hale spoke. "All ships, prepare. They mean to drown us with numbers. We will not break." The fleet answered without hesitation. Orders spread through the channels, and every human ship tightened its formation. Crews rushed to their stations. Weapons hummed, shields strengthened, and engineers worked quickly to repair damage from the earlier clash. On the ground, human soldiers also prepared. They knew the fight above would shape the fate below. If the fleet fell, nothing could save Rilna from the Dravik. The Rilna people sensed the coming storm as well. Families gathered together, whispering prayers and holding on to the hope the humans had given them. The Dravik attack began with fury. Their ships surged forward, waves of fire pouring into the human wall. Shields blazed under the endless assault, trembling with every hit. Entire sections of space lit up with red light as explosions tore across the void. Some human ships cracked under the pressure. One vessel, the Resolute, lost half its shields and spun out of formation, fire streaking across its hull. Immediately, 3 others moved to cover it, dragging the wounded ship back into line. The Rilna, watching from the surface, could hardly believe what they saw. The humans fought not as scattered captains but as a single body, each ship protecting the others. Still, the pressure was immense. The Dravik were relentless. Wave after wave crashed against the human line. It seemed impossible to hold. In the council hall, Darren spoke in fear. "They are too many. Even the humans cannot stand forever against such numbers." But Terran's eyes remained fixed on the skies. "Do you not see? They fight for each other. That is their strength. Where the Dravik push for glory, the humans hold together. That will be the difference." Commander Hale gave a single command that echoed through every ship. "Hold the line." The words became a shield stronger than steel. Every crewman, every pilot, every soldier clung to them. Cannons thundered, missiles streaked through the void, and slowly, the Dravik advance slowed. They had expected panic, retreat, collapse. Instead, they found resistance as hard as stone. Then came the moment that changed the battle. The Dravik flagship pushed forward, leading the charge. Its cannons blazed with deadly fire, smashing into the center of the human line. For a moment, it seemed the wall would break. But instead of retreating, the humans moved together. The fleet shifted in perfect coordination, surrounding the flagship from 3 sides. "All units, focus fire," Hale ordered. The sky erupted. Dozens of human cannons struck the Dravik flagship at once. Its shields flared, cracked, then shattered. Explosions tore across its surface as fire consumed its engines. The massive vessel broke apart, drifting lifeless in the void. The sight shook the entire Dravik fleet. Their proud leader, destroyed in the heart of battle. Their formation faltered. Some ships tried to retreat, others pressed on blindly, but their unity was gone. The Rilna cheered from the ground. For the first time, they saw the Dravik retreat in confusion. To them, it felt like the sun breaking through endless storm clouds. Hope spread like fire through every village and ruin. The battle was not over. Many human ships lay damaged, their hulls scarred and burning. Soldiers on the ground still fought against Dravik patrols in the forests and towns. But something had changed. For the first time, the Dravik were not the unstoppable hunters. For the first time, they were prey. In the command chamber, Hale allowed himself a brief nod. His voice remained calm, steady, but firm. "We have shown them the truth. They thought we would scatter. They thought we would bend. But we hold. We fight together. And together, we will break them." His officers answered with determined faces. The crews, though weary, felt their strength return. They knew the battle was still far from won, Yet the turning point had come. The Rilna Council gathered once more, listening to reports of the human victory. Darren spoke softly, his doubt fading. Perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps these Deathworlders are the shield we prayed for. Terran, her old eyes shining, replied, not just a shield. A promise. And so the galaxy witnessed a truth that day. Numbers alone could not break the humans. Fear could not scatter them. They were Deathworlders, born of struggle, bound by unity, and now their fury had turned the tide. The battle for Rilna was far from finished, but the Dravik had learned something they would never forget. Humanity would not yield. The battle for Rilna had shifted. The Dravik had been forced to retreat, their formations broken, their pride shattered. Yet the humans did not stop. Commander Hale knew that victory required more than defense. The enemy had to understand that Rilna was protected, that no assault could succeed while humans stood together. From the flagship, Hale watched the Dravik ships attempting to regroup. The void was filled with fragments of destroyed vessels, glowing embers floating in the blackness. The Dravik tried to strike at stragglers, smaller human ships that had been damaged, but the humans had anticipated this. Teams of repair drones and armed escorts protected every vessel. The fleet moved as one, each ship covering another, every movement precise and calculated. Prepare the counterattack, Hale commanded. His voice was steady but carried a cold determination. We push into their fleet. We show them what it means to face humans on their own terms. Pilots and crews responded without hesitation. Weapons systems powered up. Missiles, cannons, and energy beams all aimed at the enemy. The human fleet surged forward, a wall of fire and steel moving with careful, unstoppable force. The Dravik, seeing the humans advance, roared in anger. They had believed the battle won when the first retreat began. They had not expected the humans to chase them. Now, they faced a force that would not yield, a species that fought not for conquest, but for those who could not fight for themselves. On the surface of Rilna, the people watched with awe. The humans did not simply protect, they led the fight. Every strike from the fleet above was calculated, precise, devastating. Dravik vessels exploded in bursts of fire that lit the night sky. Their retreat turned to panic as the humans closed in, cutting off escape routes and surrounding their forces. Down below, human squads moved through the forests and fields. The Dravik had tried to regroup, using the terrain to hide, but the humans adapted. They moved in small units, scouting ahead, cutting off supply lines, and striking enemy patrols with speed and precision. They communicated in simple signals, hand signs, and short commands, yet each soldier knew exactly what to do. Together, they created a net of fire and strategy that the Dravik could not escape. The Rilna people who had once hidden in fear began to assist. Farmers and builders guided human teams through secret paths and old tunnels, bringing supplies, water, and information about enemy positions. Villagers carried messages and food for soldiers, proving that courage was not only in those who held weapons but also in those who helped. The Dravik commander attempted a desperate maneuver. A squadron of heavy assault ships broke away, aiming directly for Rilna's capital. They believed that if they struck the heart of the planet, the humans would be forced to retreat. But the humans anticipated this. Hale had left traps in orbit, hidden mines, coordinated firing zones, and a line of smaller human ships ready to intercept. When the Dravik squadron advanced, they were met with a wall of fire. Missiles struck in unison, tearing through shields and armor. Beams of energy cut across the black hulls. The assault squadron shattered before it reached the city, burning and spinning helplessly in space. On the ground, Rilna's people could hear the explosions above and feel the tremor in the earth. Their fear began to transform into awe. The humans did not simply fight, they struck with a controlled fury that drove the enemy back further with every move. Commander Hale observed the battlefield and gave another order. Push forward. No mercy, no pause. They attacked innocent worlds. We finish this now. The fleet surged. Humans pursued the fleeing Dravik ships into the outer orbit of Rilna's system. Each attack was deliberate, coordinated. Not a single human ship was left behind. Where one vessel faltered, others stepped into cover. Their unity became a force stronger than the Dravik's numbers. Meanwhile, on the planet, human squads cleared every enemy patrol they encountered. Villages and towns were retaken. Fires that could still be extinguished were put out. The Rilna could finally walk the streets again, some daring to step into areas once dominated by the Dravik. They saw human soldiers helping injured villagers, shielding them from falling debris, guiding them to safety. By the end of the day, the Dravik had no choice but to flee. Their retreat was chaotic, desperate, and complete. For the first time, the galaxy had seen humans not just resist a powerful enemy, but hunt them back, strike with precision, and protect the innocent while doing so. Commander Hale addressed his fleet over the channels, his tone calm but resolute. The Dravik know now what it means to face humans. Remember this, and remember your duty. Protect the helpless. Fight together. We are the shield for those who cannot fight. Let no one doubt our strength. The Rilna people whispered among themselves, hope burning brightly in their hearts. For the first time, they believed their world could survive. They had seen the humans fight, seen their courage, their unity, and their fury. And in the stars above, the human fleet rested for a brief moment, battered but unbroken. They had delivered a promise. When called upon, they answered. When the helpless cried, they fought. And now, the Dravik would carry the memory of human fury across the galaxy. The battle for Rilna was not yet over, but its fate had changed. The humans had unleashed their fury, and the Dravik knew they could never face it lightly again. The final fires of battle faded from the skies of Rilna. Smoke drifted from broken cities, and the rivers ran black with debris, yet the planet still breathed. The Dravik had fled, their fleet shattered, their ground forces defeated or scattered. For the first time in days, the Rilna people stepped out from hiding, their eyes wide with relief, their hearts heavy but unbroken. Commander Hale surveyed the battlefield from his flagship, calm but watchful. His ships remained in orbit, scanning for any remaining threats. The human fleet was scarred, shields dimmed, and hulls damaged, but not a single ship had retreated without purpose. Every loss had been met with courage, every strike a shield for the helpless. Hale knew the fight was far from easy, yet Rilna now had a chance to live. Down on the planet, human squads moved through the streets, clearing debris, tending to the wounded, and guiding villagers back to safety. Soldiers carried children over rubble, guided the elderly past shattered walls, and helped families gather what little remained of their homes. The Rilna, exhausted and fearful, began to understand the depth of the human promise. These were not conquerors or mercenaries. They were protectors, willing to risk everything for a world that was not their own. Terran and the council walked through the streets, witnessing the human efforts. Councillor Darren's eyes shone with amazement as he watched a human squad defend a small hospital from scattered Dravik patrols. The soldiers moved in perfect coordination, shielding each other, clearing rooms, and ensuring no one was left behind. They are different, Darren whispered. Not just warriors, but guardians. They fight for everyone, not just themselves. Terran nodded. That is the truth of humans. They are born of struggle, and they carry it into every battle. They fight for life, not glory. Hale descended to meet the council in the capital. His presence was commanding, yet calm. Villagers gathered around, some trembling, some bold enough to step forward. Children clung to his legs, and adults bowed slightly in respect. Hale's eyes swept over them all, and his voice, steady and kind, carried across the square. You called for help, he said. We answered. That is what humans do. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. We will not leave while danger remains. The Rilna whispered among themselves. Many had never seen such courage. Many had never believed hope could return so quickly. The council stepped forward, speaking with gratitude. Commander Hale, your people have saved Rilna, Terran said. We owe you more than words can express. You came when all others fled. You did not hesitate, and our world still breathes because of you. Hale shook his head slightly. We do not ask for thanks. We fight because it is right. But remember this, the galaxy is wide and dangerous. Others may call for help in the future. Do not forget those who answered your call today. The Rilna looked to the skies, now quiet except for drifting embers from battle. They saw the human fleet still in formation above, a silent shield protecting the planet even as repairs were made and damaged vessels were tended. The lesson was clear. Humanity would not abandon those in need. As repairs began, the humans worked tirelessly alongside the Rilna. They rebuilt walls, cleared streets, and restored power to small districts. Children were given lessons in safety, and the elderly were guided to shelters that had been secured. Even as they completed their work, the humans maintained readiness. They knew the Dravik were cunning, and vigilance was necessary. In the council hall, Darren turned to Terran. I see now what we could not before. Humans are not just fighters. They are a force of hope. They make the helpless believe in strength. Terran smiled faintly, her gaze lifting to the windows where sunlight now broke through clouds of smoke. Yes. They are proof that courage is not born only from power, but from unity and the will to protect. Rilna has survived because humans fought with all they had, and because they never abandoned us. Hale gathered his officers one last time before preparing to depart. His words were firm, carrying the weight of experience. Rilna is safe, for now. We leave knowing the planet can stand, and its people can survive. But remember this lesson. Courage is not measured by fear, but by action. Unity is stronger than any force. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is what it means to be human. With that, the fleet slowly lifted from orbit, leaving behind a world that would remember the faces of its protectors forever. The Rilna watched as the dark ships vanished into the stars, a promise etched in memory. In the days that followed, life returned to Rilna. Fields were replanted, rivers cleaned, and children began to play once more. Yet the story of the humans spread across every village and town. Songs were sung, tales were told, and the name of Commander Hale and his fleet became legend. The galaxy, too, would take note. Word traveled quickly among distant systems. When the helpless cried, humans answered. When danger threatened, humans fought. The Dravik had learned a lesson in fury, unity, and courage. And the Rilna would never forget the day their world was saved by those who refused to abandon the innocent. Humanity had kept its promise. The galaxy knew it. And the Rilna, forever changed, would live as a testament to the strength of those who rise not for glory, but to protect.